just learned about me is that it's hard to say my first name and my last name together. So Stosh and Walsh just don't go together great. So when your first name is Stosh, you get lucky because you get to be like Bono and Ronaldo and Cher, and you just get to have one name, and that's it. So you also heard that I'm a leadership person. I spend a lot of my time coaching and teaching about leadership. And so one of the things that I'd like to do this afternoon with all of you is invite you to lead with me. And one of the things I think about a lot in terms of leadership is the difference between executive level leadership and everyday leadership. And so I'd like to close the gap between those two things. And one of the things that I'd like to do is to close that gap by thinking about social media and the fact that every single day you have an opportunity to lead through social media. And so I want to invite you to lead and to join and to begin with me this afternoon a social media revolution. How many of you brought a cell phone or an iPod to school today? Just about every hand goes up, right? You got one of these in your pocket. Right now it's on silent so that you don't turn into that guy or that girl, right? So everybody's got one of these. How many of you, when you put this in your pocket this morning, thought to yourself, this is the most powerful thing I own? Probably no one. And yet it is. And here's why. It's because with your cell phone, with your iPod, you access programs like Twitter and Facebook and Instagram and all kinds of other social media outlets. And with those programs, you have the opportunity to interact with all kinds of people all over the world, including your peers that you see on an everyday basis at school and other places. And every time you like or comment or retweet someone's status or a photograph that they posted, you have an opportunity to lead that person. And you have an opportunity to either show approval or disapproval to that individual or what they're doing or even who they are. One of the things that I want to think about with you is the fact that that's life-altering power. When you give someone that approval or when you completely ignore them, it's life-altering power. And if that seems like a little bit of an overstatement of my case, then I want you to think with me about a recent news story within the last couple of weeks about a young lady in California who was assaulted by a group of individuals. And those alleged attackers took photographs and put them onto a couple of different social media outlets. And when the young woman found out, she posted to her Facebook, "Worst day ever," and went out and hung herself. Social media is incredibly powerful. It has life-changing power. Closer to home for me, I realized this because I have a middle school daughter. And recently she wanted an Instagram account. And I thought, okay, Instagram photographs, pretty harmless, right? And so we consented to that. And one of the first things I learned was that there's a tag game on Instagram called The Truth Is. Anybody ever heard of this game? So The Truth Is a game in which you take a photograph of a person, or that person posts a photograph of themselves, and then all of the comments that are made on that photograph have to be tagged with "the truth is," and then fill in the blank. So imagine the power that you wield in someone else's life when you say, "The truth is, this person is my friend," or "this person is a great listener," "this person is someone I'd like to get to know better," "this is someone I admire." Versus, on the other hand, "This is a person who is fat. This is a person who's ugly. This is the class clown. This is the person who shops at Kmart." Tremendous power to wield in the lives of others. And we think about this all the time, whether we go out of our way to admit it or not. How many of you have ever deleted a post on Twitter or Instagram or wherever because nobody else liked it? I won't make you raise your hand and answer that question, but the fact of the matter is probably most of us have. Or maybe we've gotten rid of a photograph that someone else posted because it was unflattering to us in some way. We had our eyes squinted, or someone said something about it in a comment, and so we got rid of it. because we manage our online presence. We think about that all the time. We consider how other people are interacting with and responding to us in ways that are almost unconscious at this point. And so it has life-changing, life-altering power. So what I want to think about with you today is, wouldn't it be great if we were playing a game called The Truth Is in real life, but all of the truth is statements were positive? And further than that, what if we took that and said, what could we do in our school, or in our community, or in our region, or in our world? And what could that look like if no one felt like an outcast because of what we were saying about them? What if you created a world where no one was lonely? What if you created a world where people were saying things about each other that were uplifting, that were encouraging, that were life-giving? And you started it with your phone. Because all of you have the power to do that, literally in your pocket. So I want us to think about trying to create that environment together. And I wonder what that would look like if that environment was Marinette, Wisconsin. This place up in the northeast, or the northwest, that not very many people have heard of. And I wonder if that got spreading and people started saying, yeah, those people in Marinette, you heard Dave Rendell talking earlier today about the freak factor. What if part of the reason why you were a freak is because you spent time on social media actually making other people feel good about themselves instead of making fun of somebody? I think that's possible. That's an idea I think you can latch onto and get moving toward. For me, this started with my kids, because my kids right now are 12 and nearly 11. And when they were very, very small, I started thinking about how can I have more positive interactions with them? How can I make sure that when I'm interacting with them and I'm talking to them on a day-to-day basis, they're feeling like they are inspired and uplifted and they feel good about the things that they're doing? So when they were 3 and 5, I started this practice with them. And my son, who's the younger of my 2 children, he was 3 years old at the time. The first time I ever did this with him, I said to him, okay, so I want to spend each night with my kids when I tuck them into bed telling them something that I'm proud of them for or something that I think they're great at. And so I came up to my son's bedside and I said to him, Liam, here are some of the things I'm really proud of you about. And I told him 2 or 3 things. And he looked up at me with these big blue eyes that he has, and he said to me, and what else? And you see, I had an epiphany in that moment, because I realized that it doesn't matter whether you're 3 or 103. You have a little voice that lives inside you that says, and what else? And anyone who tells you that they don't have that voice is lying. Here's how I knew that was a good idea. When my daughter, about 5 weeks later, said to me, oh, I know what else. And I said, really? Tell me more. And she proceeded to tell me 2 or 3 more things that she thought she was good at that I had never once said to her before. You see, because people believe what they're repeatedly told about themselves. So if I tell my kids over and over and over again that they're good and that they're successful and that they're smart, and I give them reasons for that. If I tell my daughter that she's beautiful, they're going to believe that. Even to the point of that's going to provide them a shield and an insulator against what some other people might say to them later on. And it's the same kind of shield and it's the same kind of insulation that you can provide for one another. Because you'll believe what people tell you about yourself. It's a fact that not very many of us like, but it's a fact nevertheless. And so here's the idea. Here's what I'd like to do about it. I think a good idea needs to be a couple of things. The first thing it needs to be is inspirational. So it needs to be something we can get behind. Can we get behind the notion that using social media for good purposes is something worth doing? Could we get excited about that? Is that something that we could say amen to? right? The second thing, it needs to be is practical. So it needs to be something that you can do right away. So it's okay if you get out your phone right now and start if that's what you're persuaded to do. But it also needs to be scalable. So that means you can go home and tell somebody who wasn't here about it. Your parents or your friends who go to other schools or people in your community group or your church or wherever. So it needs to be those couple of things. So here's what I want to propose to you. And I hope it's something that we can start in Marinette, Wisconsin, because it's never been introduced before. It's brand new to you, first time today. This notion of 30 for others. So a hashtag 30 FOROTHERS. And what that means is I'm going to take 30 days out of a year, either all at once for a whole month, or maybe one weekend a month, or just random days whenever I feel like it, that's going to add up to 30 by the time the year's over. And I'm going to use every social media outlet that I have and dedicate the status or the post that I make or the tweet that I send to someone else because of something, some trait that they have or some action that they took or something that I appreciated about them or some way that I want to encourage them. Not about their appearance or how cute they are. Nothing wrong with those kinds of things, but that's not what we're talking about here. 30 days of an entire year. It's not even 10% of a year. If you're anything like me and anything like most of the rest of the people in the world, you probably are on Twitter or Facebook or Instagram at least once a day, if not more than one time a day. I follow people on Twitter, it seems like that's their full-time job. All they do is post tweets, it seems like. We've got programs that we can use to line up all of our tweets, and then it'll distribute them for us throughout the course of one day. So this can be done. But I wonder what it would look like if we thought, okay, so what would it mean for me to be able to dedicate that time, that effort, that paying attention to somebody else? Because we all know what it feels like to be encouraged. We all know what it feels like to have someone say something good about us and then believe that that thing is true because they said it. I wonder if that's something that you can get behind. Here's the thing, though. There are a lot of people out there who are going to say, not just that you can't do this, but that you won't. There are a lot of people who would say that your generation is the one that spends too much time playing video games and too much time in front of your cell phone and always with the headphones on, and you don't talk to people enough. And they're also going to say, well, this is Marinette, Wisconsin. This is the middle of where nobody's ever heard of. Who's ever come from Marinette, Wisconsin? Whatever good came out of Marinette, Wisconsin. There's going to be somebody who says that. I think they're wrong. I say you will. I say you'll take me up on it. I'll say you're going to exercise leadership in an everyday kind of a way and give people that shield and that insulation that everyone needs, and that encouragement and that pride in who they are and not just what they look like or something silly that they did. I think you'll take me up on it. I hope you will. Because I want you to start a revolution with me. I want you to start a social media revolution with me, starting right here today in Marinette, Wisconsin, by taking 30 days out of your social media life and dedicating it to somebody else. Let's do it.